welcome everyone to the Sandy Springs Perimeter business community, and welcome to the Sandy Springs Perimeter Chamber of Commerce. This is our first virtual ribbon cutting, and we're just happy to be part of it. Happy that we can get to this point in this time of life right now. We're just excited about being here. We're grateful to you for having this organization in Sandy Springs. Thank you very much for that. And we're looking forward to learn more about you guys. So again, from the Sandy Springs Chamber of Commerce, welcome. Thank you guys. It's your turn.
3, 2, 1.
Everyone.
Nice clean.
What do I do with these?
Welcome everyone to our first virtual celebration of Recovery Month here at Piers and Pound Piers. We're glad you could be a part of our ribbon cutting ceremony, sponsored by the Sandy Springs Perimeter Chamber of Commerce in cooperation with the Georgia Council and DBHDD. Good afternoon and welcome to Piers and Pound Piers, a recovery community organization located in Sandy Springs. I am very excited to present a virtual presentation of recovery stories commemorating Recovery Month. Our theme for this Piers and Pound Piers production is We Recover Together. My name is Paul Thompson, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. What that means to me is that for the last 21 years, I've not used any mind-altering substances. My recovery has allowed me to be executive director of Piers and Pound Piers. It has also allowed me to participate today in this Recovery Month celebration with a collaborative partner such as the Sandy Springs Perimeter Chamber of Commerce. I would like to extend a thanks to the Chamber staff and members who have supported this endeavor. Additionally, I would like to thank the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse for a sponsoring grant and also the support that we received from the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities in support of our celebration of our September 2020 Recovery Month. Last but not least, I would like to extend a thank you for the job well done to the Creator Hub who produced this presentation. I would like to thank you and allow you to meet the staff of Piers and Pound Piers. We have 2 professional certified peer specialists who promote recovery for our organization. They are Emmanuel Hargrove and Amanda Ippolito. Amanda's vision has brought this Recovery Month celebration to fruition. A job well done.
Good afternoon. My name is Emmanuel Hargrove, AKA Mr. G. I'm a veteran. I'm a person in long-term recovery. And what that means to me is that I have not had a desire to drink or use drugs in 30 years. I'm proud to be a member of the PEP family. In addition to all of my other duties, I have been given the privilege to work with veterans.
Hello, everybody. My name is Amanda, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. And what that means for me is that it's been 9 years and 9 months since I've used any mood or mind-altering substances, including alcohol, to change the way I feel. Because of my recovery, I'm present and a treasured daughter, a sister, a mother, an aunt, and more recently, a grandmother. I'm a vital part of my family, community, and I'm a consumer who shops and eats local, and I vote. Throughout my life, I've worked as a successful physician recruiter, over 20 years in that field. However, recovery has afforded me the ability to change my career and become a certified peer specialist so I can assist others in my community to live and be well. At PEP, we promote long-term recovery from substance use disorders by providing experienced peer support and advocating for individuals who engage in self-directed care. We work with them to establish these goals and provide the resources to achieve them. Through individualized peer coaching, we work with the person to develop individual goals that suit them, and we support them to reach these goals by providing community resources. PEP is a comfortable place to hang out where one can meet new friends, receive education, attend meetings and groups, and share without judgment. Our role in the community is to reduce the stigma associated with substance use disorders and mental health challenges, and to build a community that supports people in their efforts to become a part of our great community here in Sandy Springs, to be self-sufficient and to thrive as fellow community members. We utilize these tenets that we learned in our certified peer specialist training. Hope. We demonstrate this through our lived experience. A holistic approach to wellness of mind, body, and spirit. Diversity. We believe in the gifts and talents of all people. Recovery. Changing our ways of thinking to achieve improvement in health and wellness, supporting self-directed care, striving for full potential in all the areas of our lives, utilizing multiple pathways to recovery. Integrity, by showing positive regard, respect, and openness to everyone. And commitment to recovery and wellness by living with compassion, dignity, and stability. It is my pleasure to introduce Jeff Breedlove. He is the Chief of Communications and Policy at the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse. He's also a dear friend, possibly the hardest working person in recovery. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Amanda. I don't know about that, but I appreciate the kind words. And I'm privileged to be here today for lots of reasons. And I'm going to go out of my normal order just to say thank you so much to the Sandy Springs Chamber of Commerce. What a privilege for not only Peers Empowering Peers, but the recovery community collectively to be part of your first virtual ribbon cutting. That is a big deal to me, that we get to be as a community a part of that history for you. We constantly say that the opposite of addiction is connection. And when COVID hit, there was no connection. And we had to, as a community, figure out how to use Zoom and other platforms. And Dr. Kathleen Toomey said this is the epidemic within the pandemic. And this is just another example. And again, thank you to the Chamber for demonstrating that recovery is stronger than COVID, that we find ways to overcome, to stay connected. And you're helping break that stigma by being a part of this, and we thank the Chamber. We also want to congratulate Peers Empowering Peers. What a fantastic day in the journey of recovery in Sandy Springs and North Fulton for the team. I mean, you know, it's three, but it's Paul, Amanda, and Mr. G, and they are three of the most effective. And they do so much beyond just Sandy Springs. And I want to return my thought about Amanda. She showed up one morning bright and early in Augusta, Georgia, 2.5 hours away. And I was startled, and I said, wow. And she said, recovery shows up. And that's all she needed to say. And she walks the walk. She doesn't just talk to talk, and she's backed up by Mr. G and Paul. And we just love PEP and Peers Empowering Peers. Congratulations on this special day. I'm bringing you these greetings on behalf of Neil Campbell, our Executive Director. Neil is and I'm a person in long-term recovery. I told y'all I got off my normal track, but I'm in long-term recovery. And what that means to me is I get to be a part of the team at Georgia Council on Substance Abuse and celebrate recovery and promote recovery. Neil Campbell, our Executive Director, celebrating 30 years this month of her own personal recovery journey. And the council, the Georgia Council, is celebrating 20 years this year of service to the Georgia recovery community. And we are just privileged to support RCOs like Peers Empowering Peers. I want to conclude with a big thank you to Governor Brian Kemp, to Commissioner Judy Fitzgerald at DBHDD, to the bipartisan working group on addiction and recovery at the Georgia General Assembly. When COVID hit, budgets were getting cut left and right. And we needed the bipartisan leadership of the working group on addiction and recovery to support the commissioner and to empower the governor to say no cuts for recovery. And we have this funding for these types of events in Recovery Month because of bipartisan leadership from the General Assembly. So from Governor Kemp to the Working Group on Addiction and Recovery, and to especially that recovery champion, Commissioner Judy Fitzgerald at DBHCD, we thank you for making events like this possible. We love Peers Empowering Peers. And on behalf of Neil Campbell and the team at the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse, we just remind you all that recovery is real. Thank you so much.
So sorry, guys. Started talking without unmuting. My apologies. I want to thank you, Jeff. I want to thank you for your work. I want to thank you for everything you said today. And of course, I echo all your thanks to our leaders in the community, through our politicians, the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse, the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. We really appreciate you. I'd like to introduce our first video. Our first video embodies the emotions and challenges that families and communities are experiencing due to the opioid crisis. It talks about how difficult it can be to support a family member and how important it is for a person in early recovery to have that family support. He also shares how more family supports are needed and necessary, and why more recovery options are needed in our communities to assist these families and people in early recovery. So I'm introducing Kelly Meredith with his story.
What's the hardest question that anyone has ever asked you? Was it a job interview question where they ask you what animal you were most like? Or maybe it was a math equation that you had no idea how to do. The hardest question someone asked me was totally unexpected and totally took me off guard. It was in early November of 2017, and I'd gone to a new barber and getting my hair cut. And the young lady was cutting my hair, and she was doing a great job of trying to get to know maybe a new long-term client. And she was asking me questions, talking to me. What do you do? Are you married? You have kids? Yeah. How many kids do you have? And I didn't know what to say. All these different things started racing through my mind. Number one, as I'm pausing and not answering, this woman has to be thinking, how does someone not know how many kids they have? But then I thought, do I say 2? Because I lost my daughter less than a month before. Or do I say 3? And then she asks me how old they are and what they're doing, and then I have to explain and, throw this horrible thought into someone's mind. Oh, by the way, I lost a child. My name is Kelly Meredith, and I am speaking to you today because I lost my daughter, Allison, to a fentanyl overdose on October 26, 2017, 5 days after her 24th birthday. Let me tell you a little bit about Allison. She was the biggest daddy's girl when she was a toddler. We loved doing things together so much. We both had this huge love of music. One of the things we would commonly do is we would get in the car and she would take control of the radio or her phone, and she'd be playing me songs of bands that she was listening to, new music, and I would be sometimes playing songs of the stuff that I liked. And we had a couple of bands in common that we both really, really loved, the Avett Brothers and Red Hot Chili Peppers. Allison was a talker. She would get in trouble in school all through her school career for talking. And the teacher would move her, and it didn't matter because she would talk to those people too. And she was somebody that would make friends, best friends with people. People felt very connected to her very quickly. She had this way of opening herself up and them trusting her. At her funeral, there were several people that said to me with full sincerity that Allison was their best friend and that she felt so close to her. And they couldn't believe she was gone. And she just had so much life. She was someone that you knew she was there, and that is for sure. She went to get her tonsils taken out when she was 18. And she told us later that when they gave the prescription for her for pain medication for getting her actually it was her wisdom teeth when she was 18. She got her wisdom teeth taken out when she was 18. Her tonsils taken out when she was 20. But the first time she ever tried that pain medicine, she said just something went off in her head, like, this is something that connects with me like nothing else I've ever felt. And then she started, I don't know all the details of the history, but she started taking pain medication until finally one day, the person she was buying these pain pills from said, why don't you take heroin? It's so much cheaper. And here is a girl that was terrified of a needle. And it went from that to this addiction being so strong in her that she would inject herself. And that just seemed impossible to me. I got a call one day that they found Allison in the car and she was not breathing, and the ambulance was there and they were taking her to the hospital. And I'm normally someone that during crisis, is very calm, cool, and collected, but I was just overwhelmed. I was trying to get dressed and leave the house, and I couldn't find anything. And I made a couple of quick calls to her brother, to my parents, and I'm in the car trying to get to the hospital, thinking that a lot of times you don't get to see a person again if you get a call like that. And I remember the phone started ringing in my car as I was driving to the hospital, and I saw who it was, and I thought, I don't want to answer this call. I don't want to find out this way that my daughter is dead. But like on the fourth ring, I finally answered it, and she was fine. They had given her Narcan, and she was completely fine. As a matter of fact, when I got to the hospital, she was kind of being a jerk. She was kind of frustrated, and she was kind of mad, and it looked like there was nothing wrong. And it took a while, actually, for it to hit her that she did almost die if someone didn't find her. And she was open to going into recovery. And that's what she did at that time. It had been several months later, and she'd been through recovery and had some setbacks, but she was at a good place, and she wanted to come home. She was so excited. This was in July of 2017, and she was so excited to come home. This is a picture of her on the plane, and she was just so excited to be coming back home to family and being with the people that loved her, realizing that the people that had been doing that tough love were really loving her, and she had an appreciation for it. And I remember I picked her up at the airport and actually parked and went in, and she was waiting there by baggage claim, and I gave her this hug. It's like one of the most strongest, powerful hugs that I'd ever had in my life. It was a hug that I didn't know if I'd ever have again. And I can't go into the airport by that spot without almost breaking down. But it was the best hug in my life. And she was home. And she'd come home, but she was going to be at a halfway house here in Atlanta for a time. And then, and partly due to trying to work out job employment and time and scheduling with a halfway house, we felt like, and Allison definitely felt like she could come and live with us, and she did at our house. And looking back now, I don't think I appreciated how hard recovery is in that first year and how focused you have to be. But she was home, and she was doing well, it seemed, and she was planning to go back to school to get a degree in music business. And I finally came to the point of believing for the first time that maybe she is going to live, maybe she is going to get over this. On her 24th birthday, we went out, we had the greatest time, took pictures, had birthday cake. And then I remember the night before she passed away, the night of the 25th, she had been out with a friend and she came home when I was still up. It was kind of late. It was sometime before midnight perhaps, but I was watching TV in the den and she comes into the back door and she comes back in. I'm eating some of her leftover birthday cake and she comes and has some too. We have birthday cake and we're watching TV and we're watching some silly show and she makes fun of it and you know, because it's this dad joke humor kind of thing, but she would always pester me if I told a dad joke, but it was a good little bit of time, and then I needed to go to bed and I told her good night. I remember almost saying I love you, but I sometimes felt like I didn't want to overwhelm her by saying that too many times, so I didn't that time. The next morning I had a chiropractor appointment I went to, and then I came home, and before going on to work that afternoon, I was trying to fold a little bit of laundry, and some of her laundry was in with ours, and so I go over to her room, and she worked in the evening a lot, so her door was closed, and I figured she was asleep, but she said she might be working today. She didn't know, and so I knock on the door, Allison. And then knocking on the door again, Allison, I knock louder, and then I start panicking. I grab the knob and it's locked. And I just start screaming, Allison, Allison. And I first try to think about busting the door down, but I went quickly go to a drawer and grab an ink pen and take the privacy lock and open it up. And I see her lying on the bed like she's asleep, and I turn her over. And I call 911, I start doing CPR, but they say one of the stages of grief is denial, and I think I was in denial at that point because she was already gone, it was too late, but I did CPR for 10, 15 minutes until the ambulance got there. I remember before they took her away, she still looked so beautiful. And I stroked her hair and I said, Allison, what have you done? And one of the hardest things I ever did was to make those phone calls to family, to her siblings, to her mother, to my parents, to her cousin that was her best friend. And my life and our lives have never been the same. It's been over 2 years, but it's something that I will never get over. Time makes the horrible pain maybe less often, but it's something I'm always going to have. Another parent one time described it, that lost a child as an emotional disability. And I would say that's pretty accurate. All the days that are supposed to be special, Thanksgiving, Christmas, her birthday, my birthday, any family gathering, they all suck. The days leading up to it are sometimes almost more than I can bear. The 26th of every month marks time of another month that she's been gone, and I'm always aware of it. The reason I tell this is so that you can hopefully learn and know from Allison's story, from this tragedy. Hopefully something good can come out of it. And one of the goods you need to understand is that your life is so valuable. No matter where you are, no matter what you've done, no matter how you've hurt family or friends, you do not understand how valuable your life is to the people closest to you. No one is you. No one can replace you. Your life is a blessing from God, and you have something so valuable. And if you're in recovery right now, you have one job right now, and that is to recover, to work at recovery, to not feel overwhelmed by being behind in life or being stressed because you haven't achieved what you need to achieve at this time in your life, that you don't have a degree, or you don't have the job that you want, or you don't have the family that you want. Whatever that situation may be, the fact that you're alive and can breathe is hope. You have one job, and that's recovery, and you can do it. And it's so hard, and you need the people around you to support you. You need to slow down and just focus on recovery. The people around you need to realize you need to just focus on recovery, that is your one and only job. Your life is so valuable and can never be replaced. When I thought about what good can come out of this tragedy, I realized that the good can be the people that actually recover, that actually come through recovery and are able to help others. I've noticed something, a characteristic about those in long-term recovery is that they count their blessings, is that they are appreciative of the life they have. They realize how things could have been so different. Their story could have ended like Allison's. And that is something that will help me, is when I see people make it in recovery and make it to long-term recovery and are able to help others. We have so far to go in combating this epidemic of opiate addiction and drug addiction. One of the things that's a hindrance is the stigma that is still out there. The comments that I sometimes see on social media, it's not things directed at me, but a lot of times people have no idea how much they might hurt when they make very judgmental comments about people in recovery, when I know who my daughter was and how loved she was and how important she was. That we need to realize this can happen to anybody. You know, my daughter was involved in the church youth group. She was involved in activities in school. She was involved in the choir. She was a valuable part of society. People ask me how many kids I have, and now I don't, without hesitation, I know the answer. It's 3. I have 3 kids.
Why don't we take a pause for a moment? We will move on to our veterans intro. As you heard before, Mr. G is our veterans peer specialist on staff at PEP, and I'd like for him to say a few words about his experiences. Mr. G.
Thank you. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, Urban Housing Development and the census report in 2016, there are over 6,400,000 veterans living in the state of Georgia, out of which 3,298 are opioid dependent. Since 2020, Peers Empowering Peers have provided peer support to over 250 veterans in the Sandy Springs and Fulton County area.
A peer specialist is a person who lives recovery. Our strongest tool, we're one of the newest professions, let me say that, in behavioral health. We're only about 25 years old. But peer specialists are people with lived experience as their key tool in their toolbox to assist others on the journey of recovery. As a peer specialist, I use the analogy of the person that falls in a well, abandoned well. Someone tries to put a ladder down. When the ladder hits the bottom, it's not tall enough to reach the top. They offer them a rope, but the rope doesn't go down far enough that they can grab hold of the rope and come up. Then comes the peer specialist with a flashlight and jumps down in that hole. And they say to that person, we're not both trapped. The person usually says, hey, we're both in bad shape now. The peer specialist says, we're not trapped. You see, I've been in this hole before, and I'm here to show you the way out. So we walk the journey of recovery with those people that we service, that we are partnered with for recovery. We help them over the obstacles that they find, and we provide them with the resources in the community that we have discovered. Our journey may not be, or our path for recovery may not be right for them. But we realize that everyone has the right to self-determination, and they have to find their own journey, and we are merely guides. We are evidence-based practice that is scientifically proven to be effective in recovery of behavioral health challenges.
I am a veteran. I could be a man, I could be a woman who have served their country, who's willing to put their life on the line for the country that they love. I am a veteran. I left my family and I put my life on the line. I did it for the love of my country. I did it for you, my friends, and my family too, so they could live in this country and be free. I am a veteran. I sacrificed a lot in my life so others could live happy and be free. I fought by land, by air, and by sea. I've seen and done things that I'm not proud of, but I did it for the things that I love. I am a veteran, like other brothers and sisters who was in the uniform, wearing it very proudly and free. Some of us are sitting here today with PTSD, just so others can live in this country and be free. I am a veteran who took and swore an oath that I would protect and defend until the day I die. I am a veteran. I love this country. So please, America, don't pass me by. I am a veteran, and I will be a veteran until the day I die. I am a veteran, and all I ask of you is please understand me and give me my due. So please remember the veteran.
Who would imagine that a sergeant major in the United States Army would find himself in a position where he was in a mental crisis? About 16 years ago, I experienced a stroke, which brought to life some very deep feelings that I had and forced to threshold the front my depression. Living with major depression and discovering that I also was living with post-traumatic stress was a revelation to me, because I never wanted to be one of those people. But the reality is that I had been one of those people for many years. After taking myself to a local recovery center run by the county, I discovered that recovery is an ongoing journey, and many people have that journey. I live with major depression and post-traumatic stress, but I live. I won't go into details about my journey and my attempts of suicide, how I didn't love myself at one time, but more I'd like to concentrate on the journey home. I discovered that the best medicine I had was talking to people who had lived experiences, people who had already gone through what I went through. Now, surprisingly, I found a community of veterans who had gone through similar experiences. At the time, the Veterans Administration had not organized peer support services completely. I discovered becoming a peer specialist was one way for me to help people and at the same time enjoy the benefits of my recovery. In a short period of time, I became a member of the board of directors for the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network and learned the power of advocacy. I began to facilitate recovery groups and talk about mental illness, substance use disorder, and realized that there were many, many, many people who needed to hear the good news of hope. I live in hope. I live in a community where I see the difference that peers make and how we can empower each other to become greater. In the Veterans Administration, I work in the Community Resource and Referral Center of the Atlanta VA. Sounds like a small job, but the Community Resource and Referral Center handles veterans who are in crisis of housing, either at risk or literally homeless. How can a veteran, someone who served our country, be homeless? Well, greater than 90% of the people we see live with behavioral health challenges, substance use disorder, which is a symptom of a deeper wound. You see, I understand that veterans experience what we call unspoken wounds. Veterans who live with disorders like post-traumatic stress, which is the most widely known, moral injury, which is the one where you feel guilty about either not providing what you could for your family or not providing aid or survivor's guilt. And most recently, we realized that veterans are self-medicating. You see, I never considered it self-medicating. I never had a drinking problem. I had the money to afford the alcohol, and I drank. And so first I drank so I felt better. Then I drank so I could go to sleep. And then I drank so I didn't feel. And so when I worked myself up to about a gallon of vodka a day, I realized that I might have a problem. Never diagnosed with substance use disorder, I sought help through an organization or a program called Double Trouble in Recovery, correct? Through the Double Trouble in Recovery group, I learned that unlike some other 12-step programs, I could work on my behavioral, my mental health, and my substance use simultaneously. I realized that my use of alcohol was a chance for me to calm the pains that I was experiencing in my life. You see, veterans live a very closed life when it comes to the pain that they experience. Veterans are usually in a protection mode for their families, friends, and people who are close to them. We tend to keep a lot inside. But we learned that when veterans talk to other veterans, healing can happen. In my 7-8 years at the Atlanta VA, I've been elevated to a position of being the national point of contact for all peer specialists working in Division 7, which comprises of Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina. I have more than 60 peer specialists across the state of Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina who use me as their voice, who advocate for them so that they can provide services for their fellow veterans. We all have our certifications from our different states or from the Veterans Administration. And we are excited about the possibility of spreading the good news of recovery throughout the veteran community. As I mentioned before, veterans have a very closed society. We don't talk to people who don't understand the veteran experience. What I'd like to leave with people today is to understand this. We are people. We are people who have put our lives on hold or on the line for the sake of our nation. PEP actually is a brainchild of someone I worked with and have great admiration for, Beverly Ragland. Beverly and I worked together in the VA. As a matter of fact, I sat on Beverly's certification panel when she certified as a peer specialist. And PEP actually reached out to me, not through Beverly's intervention, but some other people that I met along the way. And they reached out to me and said, hey, you sound like a good person to talk about what we're doing as peer. And PEP has approached me about things that they can do to help the veteran population that I service every day. And I found PEP to be a very powerful community organization, linking with some of the organizations that the VA has memorandums of understanding or agreement with, working hand in hand with their community and other recovery communities to help all persons who have behavioral health challenges. PEP is a not-for-profit organization that is truly dedicated to assisting others and empowering them in their recovery.
Okay, the next portion of our program is kind of around the community and corporations and employment and providing the real basic needs support that people need in early recovery. So you're going to see some short videos, a montage of some of our peers and how they've done and some of the things that they've been able to take advantage of. And I'm just real excited. I also want to let you know that you can see these videos on our Facebook page throughout the month, this month and next month. All you need to do is go to Peers Empowering Peers on Facebook in Sandy Springs, hit the like button, and then you'll be able to see our videos as they premiere throughout the rest of September and during the month of October. You'll also be able to see some of the people we're recognizing as recovery rock stars, people who go the extra yard for folks in recovery here in our community. So look forward to that. And Paul? Unmute, Paul.
Peers in recovery want to live meaningful and ordinary lives that are motivated by choices available in their communities, the communities that they live in. Please offer 100% of your participation and join Peers Empowering Peers in a holistic approach to support the lived experiences of all pathways of recovery to peers in our Sandy Springs community. Just remember, Peers Empowering Peers is the home of recovery.
Better than being homeless. That's literally where I was at a year ago. I was literally homeless under the bridge, shooting drugs at this time last year. And like this year, I've got a car. I just got my hair done. I'm getting my nails done. Like my self-care has promoted like 1,000,000%. I actually have friends. I can actually reach out, and there's people that really care about what happens to me. There's people that connect to me and reach out to me just because they know what kind of person I am. Like I've proven myself over the last year. Hi, my name is Brenda Williams, and I am in long-term recovery from drugs and alcohol. I'll actually be at my 1 year next month, so that's really exciting. And PEP for me, the biggest part was the peer specialist. The hardest time in my life, probably thus far, and definitely in my recovery, I had to go to court for custody of my children. I had 2 sets of twins. And while there, I had a peer specialist that actually came with me and was there to support me and help me in whatever my decisions were. The thing that was really encouraging about the support that I received was there was no judgment. It was 100%, whatever you decide you want to do, I've got your back. If you want to fight for your children, if you feel like you can't handle it, whatever that looks like for you, I'm here to support you. I was free to open up. I was free to cry. I was free to feel. And it didn't matter what it was. I could have raw emotion, and I had 100% support. I ended up talking with them and praying over what would be the best thing for me to do for my children. And I actually surrendered my rights to my children to be able to keep them all together. So for me, that was definitely the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. But I feel like as far as my recovery goes, it was definitely the turning point for me letting go of me being selfish and making a change that was for a positive influence that was, all about me. I don't feel like that I've ever had a relationship where I wasn't judged to some degree or there wasn't some kind of expectation. I feel like that was the first time in my recovery that I realized that there could be someone that cared for me and that had my back sincerely and wasn't there to take something from me or to get something or, to cast judgment, but was really just there for my best interest and what was going to be best for me. I know what it's like to be a female that has absolutely no support at all. And I feel like the support that I have received since being here gives me the motivation to want to be able to give back and to help other women in the same manner. One of the greatest gifts of recovery that I've experienced this far is my career path has taken a turn for the better. While I was at Mary Hall, I was eligible and got nominated to go into a work program called Every Woman Works, which is phenomenal. It is a phenomenal program I would recommend for anyone. EWW really empowered me to work on myself from the inside out, work on the whole person. Not just what my next job was going to look like, but how I could make myself a better person so that I could advance in my career, as well as having a purpose and being purpose driven with that. So while I was at EWW, or Every Woman Works, I was actually introduced to a program called Higher Hope, which I was given a recommendation through Mary Hall. And since doing that, it is a program that Ronstadt offers where they actually give back to the community as well. It's a community partnership program where they take women that have been victims of sex trafficking or homelessness, and they help get them, they train them to put them in a position to be able to make a livable wage. And since doing this, I've been given the ability to learn to hire candidates in a corporate America setting. And for me, it's allowed me to take my recovery life and mix it with my spiritual life, as well as what I hope to be a career one day. And the fact that I'm able to go to work every day and empower other people, talk to people on the phone, I can take what they say and make it sound incredible to have a hiring manager interested in hiring them. And that to me is just, it's just been amazing. So starting back from a year ago when I was still homeless and I was literally just trying to make it to my next high or to my next drink, over the past year, I now am in a program that allots me the ability to be able to have a career and advance. And coming from a background that I actually have felonies, and a lot of people told me that I wouldn't be able to succeed, that would not be an opportunity for me. And since working with the Higher Hope program, I've actually had a couple of the accounts that have reached out to try to hire me on full time, even though I have a background. I was told that I wouldn't be supplied a computer because I was a felon, and God forbid that I should relapse and then steal the computer. So within a month's time, I was able to prove myself and actually received a computer from the company that had just said that I would never be able to do so. So the hopes that I have with that program are just that other companies and other corporations in the community will start to partner and realize that we really do deserve a second chance, that recovery is possible no matter what. And if you looked at me a year ago under the bridge to today, I'm a perfect walking example that recovery does happen.
We're going to now see a few more videos on recovery in corporate America. We'd like to charge you all, the listeners here, to join in with Peers and Pound Peers and in the corporate sector to think about ways that you can help peers in recovery in the Sandy Springs community at large. We feel that your input and your participation, your volunteerism, your gifts of love will offer each individual a chance to excel in their dreams and hopes of doing a recovery that's worthwhile for the rest of their lives. So the impact that the corporate community has is very impactful to a peer because they're not alone. They have your support. They have your training programs. They can use your expertise in what you do. You can come out and present seminars at our facility. You can provide lunches and come and talk about job skills and hiring skills and things they need to have to come out and become successful in the communities that they live in. So I challenge you to pick up and support our efforts. And if you need anything from us, we're there to guide you, lead you, or give you information that you need. So the floor is open. The door is open for your corporate support. And we thank you for consideration of that.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. I just wanted to remind everyone we have 2 more short films. One is one person's story, and then another one is a combination of stories. And I just wanted to remind everyone that the Q&A portion is open. We will have a time after all of the videos, all the films have been played for the panelists up here to answer any questions that you might have about what partnership might look like, about some of the programs that you all have done. So please submit those questions to us, and we'll be able to ask the PEP team and hopefully Jeff as well from the Georgia Council to address some of those questions that you might have. Without further ado, I'm going to play the next film.
I will say that the PEP has been a great part of my growth and becoming into my full self, the truthful self, and that is because of the people that I met here, like Amanda, Mr. G and Paul, because they came with me with no judgment, no judgment, stating just be yourself, because there is a place for you. Hi, I'm T.O. Davis, and I'm actually from Georgia. Have a history of, of course, of recovery, and just here today to talk about recovery in the community itself. Many years, especially working in corporate America, I put on the mask. I woke up in the morning. I had dress rehearsal. I put on the costume, and I continued for the next 8 to 10 hours in that particular form of fashion. It became something of the norm. So now I'm this particular person at work, and then after work I'm this particular person. So always as if I was trying to be something or present myself as something that I'm really not. Of course, there are some benefits of working in corporate America, being one, presenting a certain image, but also there's something that comes along with it, sort of like I tend to lose myself and lose who I am. So therefore, again, as I said earlier, I started using drugs and alcohol as a comfort zone. It was the only way, especially with alcohol, it was the only way that I could be comfortable being who I am. And therefore, I could drop the walls. And I figured that most of the people who are going to be drunk anyways, they're not even going to remember what I said or what I did. And so that's how life began, my social life began. I really didn't start using hard drugs until I was till I was 38. So I kind of waited to be a late bloomer. Once that happened, especially when the hard drugs came about, I got addicted quickly, very fast, because of the addictive personality and the insecurities and the guilt and pain of things that had happened in my life. And also, I was struggling during that time as well with my sexuality. I knew at a very young age there was something different about me. I just didn't know what. I waited to college to start exploring, my sexuality, and learned to live comfortably in a safe environment. And again, not really knowing who I am and not really knowing what I am, I put the mask on. So whatever environment I was in, I put that mask on, I wore it, and I pretended to be, I sent that representative there to that event, to that, whatever it was. And again, just not being truthful and honest with who I am. So of course, once the drugs started, the substance started, everything else, started. That was my way of escaping reality, or my reality. Instead of dealing with life on life terms, I chose to escape it because it was, now in comparison, it may have been a role I was playing, but not really the person who I am. For a long time, I never felt emotions, or if I did feel them, I didn't know how to respond or react to them. So even today, I'm still having to be struggle to kind of identify what I'm feeling or how I'm feeling. I just know I'm feeling something, but I am capable of speaking that truth out today. And one of the things that I really like about PEP is that it has provided me a safe environment and an environment that motivates me to be me, to motivate me to stay in recovery, to live a spiritual life, and to be okay and accepting who I am. I've struggled, for years, and saying that I'm okay, but really not okay. It was through the people here that I was able to identify my purpose. Because for many years in my life, I never knew I had a purpose. I thought I was just gonna live and die, and that's it, nothing else. But I learned that my purpose is to be here for someone who's struggling just like I am. To be here for someone who's fighting, who's struggling with their sexuality, with their sexual identity. Someone who's struggling, trying to be a man of God and being gay. I want others to be able to feel the same way, who's struggling, to let them know it's like, hey, you're not alone. Because when I came here, I felt that I was not alone. Were there many people who looked like me, act like me, moved like me? No. But the support group here said, it's okay to be you. It's okay to move like you, walk like you, talk like you, think like you. It's okay, because guess what? You're the only one that can be you. So just be you. So those are some of the things that these are the support systems that I have in place. And I've, as I stated earlier, I found my place here at PEP, in the recovery community.
All right, we have one more, and this one I'm partial to because of the way that it is focused on how we recover in community. And as someone who does work in the Sandy Springs area and am connected around the Sandy Springs area, I want to say that I believe that Sandy Springs can be a community that is, one, is already strong in recovery, but also two, is one that can be an example for other communities for partnerships in recovery, and how powerful having a community that understands recovery and that supports people in recovery can be. So this one is all centered on why community is important, both community for people who are in recovery and those of us who are allies and peers of people in recovery. So without further ado, we'll watch the last film. Don't forget to submit any questions that you might have for our panelists.
My name's Crystal. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I have almost 2 years, and I'm involved with Peers Empowering Peers, and it's an important part of my life.
Hi, I'm Jenna, and I am a person in long-term recovery. I have 4.5 years sober, and for me, that means I have not found it necessary to take a drug or a drink since January 13th of 2016.
Hi, I'm Joe Foster, person in long-term recovery. This program has given me a great opportunity of life. I'm very overwhelmed and excited about what it has brought into my life.
Community is one of the big reasons I stay sober. Going to church, being connected, doing, activities through the church, which I'm blessed that, some of the members of Peers Empowering Peers go to the same church I do. So it's exciting. It's like we're a family, and it's great.
A community, the definition of community is a group of people with a common characteristic or a group of people who live together, who share a common characteristic. And when I entered into Right Side Up, I was surrounded by a group of women who had the same similarities as me and had all experienced the same pitfalls of addiction, who had experienced, either losing a child or, ending up in jails and institutions, et cetera. And I remember that feeling that I had when I had that sense of community, and I know that I didn't ever want to lose that. So when I graduated Right Side Up, I wanted to continue that. And so what I did was I enrolled myself into Mary Hall Freedom House Higher Ground 3 program here in Fulton County in Sandy Springs. And with that, again, I was surrounded by a group of women who were supportive and who were just like me.
I can emphasize enough, I'm not alone. I need to surround myself with those individuals that's going through what I'm going through. That would be I got to have that I'm not alone. And having that community around, they can look at me and say, hey, I know what you're going through.
I feel like I wouldn't be as far in my recovery as I am if it wasn't for the help of Peers Empowering Peers, for sure. I got my kids back. I bought a house and I have a family now, and it's amazing. All the resources that I got, in the trauma meetings and just talking one-on-one, getting advice after not having my kids for so long, knowing that it wasn't gonna be all peaches and cream when I got them back, that it was gonna take work on, both sides, setting boundaries, and I feel like it set me up for success.
So Peers Empowering Peers, I think, is a great resource, for people who are looking for resources and support. It's not a handout by any means, but it is a place where they can come to for resources and to get some of their questions answered. And at the same time, they are empowering them and encouraging them to start taking responsibility for their own recovery and for their own lives, and start putting in the footwork to help the next person in line who needs their help, so they can become a resource for them as well. Staying connected is one of the biggest things that I've taken away from, being in recovery. And Amanda told me a very long time ago that the opposite of addiction is connection. And when you have connection, you build community. And when you're in a community and you start attending meetings and you join a fellowship, you can start being of service. And that's exactly what PEP does. That's exactly what 12-step meetings do and what they offer. I am grateful enough to be secretary for the Right Side Up Alumni Association, and I am also secretary for Crystal Meth Anonymous Unspun here in Roswell.
At Peers Empowering Peers, we believe recovery happens in community.
Recovery happens in community. that's peers, empowering some peers.
At PEP, we believe recovery happens in community.
Here at Peers Empowering Peers, we believe that recovery happens in the community.
In Peers Empowering Peers, we believe that recovery happens within the community.
At Peer Empowering Peers, we believe that recovery happens in communities.
All right. Well, we want to welcome everybody back. And, this is the portion of the programming where we'd love to talk about how we can help each other in our great community. So I don't know if you saw some of the notes that I was typing into the chat as our folks were sharing, but, we're looking at homeowners. We're looking at managers in our community. We're looking at people that were able to make connections that inspired them and help motivate them to achieve not only short-term small goals, but dream larger goals and achieve them. So when I look at the challenges that people in recovery face, a lot of it has to do with sustainability. If I'm working at this place and I'm making minimum wage and I have a childcare situation that I'm paying for and I'm paying for rent, and the list kind of goes on. Of course, we connect them with services that enable them to achieve those shorter term goals. But as far as being motivated to move further, that's a really pivotal point in recovery. And these folks deserve an opportunity to interview, to be trained, to learn more skills. And we're looking forward to forging those relationships with more members of the Chamber of Commerce. And, when you hire a person in recovery, you're hiring a person who is motivated. You're hiring a person that doesn't want to give up. You're hiring a person that, they've had some bad days, but they're resilient. And this resiliency enables them to move forward with purpose, to be loyal to your company. If you give a person in recovery an opportunity, they appreciate that opportunity. They appreciate it and they show up. And that's what I've seen with our peers. And my fondest hope is that more and more of our peers will be able to get connected in positions that sustain them so they become independent and eventually no longer receiving entitlements, but actually becoming self-supporting, independent, and thriving in our community.
Thanks, Amanda. The floor is open now for questions. And so myself and my colleague Miles Sandoff are gonna kind of go back and forth asking some of the questions to our panelists for a moment. So again, if you have questions, go ahead and submit those in the Q&A. And we'll do this until we run out of questions or until 2 o'clock. How's that sound, everybody?
Okay.
Awesome. All right, Miles, you want to get started with the first one?
Yes, of course. So we have the first question that just came in, and it is, how can the Chamber help PEP in the future?
Well, first of all, it's a twofold thing. How can they help us? How can we help them? Could be information that we can share, to exchange, have like a think tank of those agencies that would like to, let's say we could meet together to discuss some things that we need, such as you heard over the film, sometimes peers have a record They have some challenges as far as getting employed. What companies can step up and take a chance on hiring individuals of that sort. Some may need technical skills. What technical organization, a member of the chamber that can step up the plate to come and maybe teach a class at PEP, or we can go to send them or bring them to their organization. They may have a need for legal assistance, the expungement of their some of the charges that they have, obtaining their rights back to vote, become voting citizens, taxpaying citizens. How they go about doing that? So maybe some attorneys can come forward to volunteer some services, and we can have them to come into PEP and have a meeting and invite those peers. And there'll be a lot of them, I can tell you that. They will take advantage of that opportunity to expunge some of their, their past trials and tribulations. So there are a number of things that we look at. Basically, is just jobs, place to stay, housing in the area is pretty high. How can some of the apartments come to the aid of some of the homeless individuals that are veterans in our communities that we serve, and help some of our veteran populations to be able to get their families into some of these housing facilities and residences in Sandy Springs that's feasible, or where can they lead us to? So there's a number of issues, housing and also medical. The hospitals in the area, they support us right now. Northside supports us, St. Joseph's, the Cab General, Fulton County Hospital, North Fulton. They support our population as far as medicals going on. And then the medicines are high. Sometimes they can't afford to buy the medicines that they have. So, we can identify some things that we can work on with the chamber. I think we have over maybe 500 plus members, and maybe we can meet with them to tell them some of the things that we're discussing now, some of the needs and challenges that we have, and have some of them to step forward and confront some of these challenges and support the peers in the community.
I'll kind of go off of that for you, Paul, and for anybody else who wants to chime in on this question. Why, I think for me, as someone who's not a person in recovery from substance abuse, I think something that was interesting to me was that, or something that I just didn't realize, was that recovery is about more than just going to a meeting and not doing drugs. And I kind of wanted for the rest of us who haven't had the opportunity to work so closely with you all in the last couple of months, for the rest of us, why do these other things matter? Why does, financial literacy, why does employment and all of that, why is that a part of recovery? Why is it a part of what you do?
I'll jump in and add into that, Nolan. So, before I worked years ago, I had the privilege of working for Governor Deal in the Governor's Office of Workforce Development. And we went all over the state meeting with business owners. And the number one reason that businesses incur recurring costs is maintaining a workforce. And the number one part of that is soft skills. So it's almost like, what can the recovery community do for the business community? And what can be done is a partnership where, when a strong chamber like the Sandy Springs Chamber invest in recovery through education to their 500 plus members, what they're really doing is just confronting the reality that if you build a stronger workforce through the business community, you're saving business dollars. You're making a stronger business. You're making a stronger workforce in a city and a community like Sandy Springs. So it makes business sense. It makes perfect economic sense to break down that stigma those people might, what a powerful testimony. I've been right there where the young lady testified about, well, if they give me a computer, I might feel it. That was me. I mean, that was so powerful. But business leaders across North Metro Atlanta are starting to understand that some of the strongest employees that they can hire are people that embrace recovery. And I'll just say that when the business community decides to connect those dots, that we keep losing people, well, the solution is to incorporate in their hiring process, through human resources, a culture of recovery. And when they make that turn and they work with peers empowering peers in Sandy Springs and RCOs across in other communities, Sandy Springs will see that they sort of have a stronger workforce that makes new people want to come open up their business there, make people not want to leave there. So it really involves the business community embracing recovery. And when they do, in a place like Sandy Springs, peers empowering peers is going to be right there to tell them how to do it. And this is just so important.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you, Jeff. Does anybody else want to chime in on that? Or we just want to say amen to what Jeff said?
Well done, Jeff. Amen. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so we have a question for Amanda. I'll let Miles ask that one that somebody submitted.
All right, so the question is, do you have programs for women with children during the pandemic?
Okay. So we have assisted a number of people during the pandemic, and a lot of the people that I work with are women with children. I'm acquainted with a lot of these people through my other recovery connections there in Sandy Springs. So people have come to me needing all types of supports. Some of the supports have been housing supports. Some of them have been, a need for a connection to groceries, to PPE, to clothing. When things shut down, people felt very isolated and disconnected. So we were able to support people. I'm pretty much doing a lot of mobile peer support right now during the pandemic. So going to people and dropping off the items that they need, talking to them on the phone, providing them with support in that way. But as a person who came into recovery as a single mother, I understand this demographic very well, and my lived experience is very relevant in how I work with women with children. And, once again, when I talk about sustainability, it's this population that I'm very specific about, because to raise a child in the culture of recovery in a strong community, we've got to have that support. So with PEP, what we're able to do is we're able to provide the intentional support. We're able to connect those people with resources that can help them in the interim. And our long-term goal is to be able to connect more of these young ladies with, or maybe ladies my age for that matter, with programs and internships and skill sessions that will help them be more successful in their recovery and as parents as they become independent citizens. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. I'm curious, what would be your goal in partnership with the business community here? Like, do we have a number goal? I know this is a new developing, like what's the goal? How many businesses would you all like to be connected with? And what type of community are you trying to build here?
Well, I would say some important factors are, we need maybe different types of support for different people. So for some people, a lot of people in early recovery work in the service industry. And for those people, just having safe shoes to go to work in, the right uniform type outfit, things like that. Those are supports that a company could provide to individuals. That's pretty simple, you know, in a donation, receipts provided, you know, whatever everybody feels comfortable with. Some people need additional training and assistance with their resumes. Also, as we mentioned earlier in the presentation, just a better understanding of literacy, financial literacy, and being able to, you know, look at a job and see, is this job something that's going to sustain me and help me? So we really need, you know, a buy-in from the chamber members to believe that these people are vital and that these people are going to help sustain their business with their loyalty, and in turn that these corporations give these folks a chance. The training is invaluable, and we're looking at a training. It's in the planning stages, but we've done a similar training, or I've done a similar training with another community organization in Sandy Springs before, where we taught people very specific database skills. This time we're looking at making this person who goes through the training an actual administrator of a database and certifying them with that. It's a year-long program, and we're working with some community members to get that started. And what that will provide is a job. At the end of that training, that person will have a job where they know they're going to be able to sustain themselves. They're going to feel good about being able to support themselves without any government entitlements. They're going to have worked their way off of that and be able to be proud to call them members of Sandy Springs community, people in recovery, and hopefully go back and get more, you know? So these are some of the things that would really assist us, is these types of partnerships that would allow people to get started, to be trained, to take a chance on hiring someone, trying to find ways to maybe go around a little bit of policy, especially over, you know, a fairly minor charge, which these things do come up from time to time, and just some understanding and empathy.
Yeah, I'd like to add also that, you know, well, ideally, we would want all of the chamber members to do something. Have 100% membership from all the members. I would even venture to say, while Amanda was talking, that we would, some of them may have to volunteer and not get paid. You know, some people have gotten hired with a lot of companies by volunteering first. I just work for nothing. Works both ways. They see how the peer responds to ownership and responsibility of working for the corporation, the company, small company, large, whatever it may be. And they will understand somebody took a chance on them and say, hey, I'm going to let you volunteer. But ultimately, it could turn into, I'm going to hire you and get a position. But, you know, we have to think out of the box, you know, so just give us a chance and have a apprenticeship program created by the chamber of companies that want to participate in this opportunity. So by having that apprenticeship program, they can see a face like Jeff talked about earlier. You know, they have this stigma about it. You know, they got this, they got that, whatever that may be. Join the organization, try it out, and see what you come up with. Give us a chance. That's all we want. Give us a chance.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Paul. I think if we have one more question that is on there, and we can kind of ask that one in wrapping up, unless another question or two comes in. But I just want to say thank you so much on behalf of myself and the Creator Hub, just for giving me the opportunity to work with you all on these stories. You know, there are more stories coming out, so make sure you follow Peers Empowering Peers on Facebook. And all of these will eventually be on Facebook there. But thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I'll say that we sat down for, goodness gracious, what was it, 12 to 15 stories in the matter of 2 days to film these. And the thing that came up for me was just how hopeful it was, and how much hope I left those days of filming with, how much hope I'm leaving this meeting with. And I think something that I'm taking away, at least, is that hope demands something of us. Hope, cynicism is easier because it doesn't require anything from us, but hope demands something. It means that we have to do something as we move forward. So for anybody who's looking forward to taking some sort of action, how do they, this is the last question here, how do they get in contact with you if they want to take a step, want to start that partnership? How do they get in contact with you? What's the best way to do that?
I'm going to say give us a call, you know. I can give my number right now, and for those of you who can jot it down, it's 404-662-1177. You can call me between the hours of 8 to 6, and we can discuss ways that we can work together. I've already had, actually, since we've been on this meeting, 2 organizations contact me, so that's cool. And I'm looking forward to more. And I do want to say that we appreciate so much the Chamber of Commerce. We do ask you to go ahead and urge your members and your employee assistance people, and other people that could be referred to like our page on Facebook. And this is also a great way to get in touch with us and share your ideas. And look forward to our new website coming out later in October.
Awesome. Paul, any parting words before we get off, or Brittany, anything on behalf of the Chamber before we end today?
I just want to say thank you for having us, and we enjoy you being members of the Chamber.
Well, thank you, Brittany, for your assistance and support. And we look forward to continuing in some way. We were talking about maybe partnering with and doing like getting a pulse on a apprenticeship program or something with some of the board members, and see if they would like to chalk into it and have like a think tank of information panel or something that we could talk to and get more information, see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks so much.
Hey, and I just noticed that a fellow Chamber member has joined, and this person is Lavette with Well Clean Solutions. And we do want to give a big shout out to Well Clean Solutions for coming in and stripping our floors and re-waxing and polishing them. It was a very generous donation, and we are so very appreciative. It seems like a brand new space, and they did a wonderful job, a high quality job, and we just couldn't thank them enough as fellow Chamber members to providing that for us. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I hope you all have enjoyed this today. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah,
Emmanuel,
we
you have
are
anything?
just really excited.
Emmanuel, do you have anything you want to say before we go?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you got some parting
Okay, yeah,
words?
I thought today was a beautiful day. It was very exciting. There was a lot of information, and there was a lot of touching things that were said. And it has been very enjoyable to me today for us to get together and be able to share. And recovery do start in the community.
All right. Well, we'll see you all soon. Thanks again to all of the attendees.